Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Bluegrass Trapper here. So it's about the end of July. Trapping season will be here before we know it. I just got back from Virginia, where we went down there, went to the National Trappers Convention. Had a great time, met a lot of great people. And I got a little bit of footage I was wanting to show y'all. It's the reason for this video. Coffee Talk with Mark Sagers, Ron Leggett, Neil Olson, and Jim Comstock. And I was aiming to take my camera and get a whole big video of the convention, but I wound up getting too interested in looking at everything, and I didn't get no recording done other than that with my phone, a little bit of Coffee Talk. The next couple years I plan on going to the NTA. If you've never been, I recommend going. There's a lot of trappers there, a lot of legend trappers there. You can get any kind of trapping supplies you would ever want. Anyway, it was just a great time. Met Jaimo and Edna from the show Last Alaskans. Y'all from YouTube. A lot of fun, a lot of good people, and it was enjoyable. Without further ado, let's get into the Coffee Talk. I hope y'all enjoy. Catch y'all on the flip side.
Every trapper here thinks about hanging up. You think about, and that's why they do it. This is why people do it. Fur prices are too low. The weather's too bad. The wife doesn't want you to go. Your truck gets a flat tire. It breaks down. The guy you're trapping with drives you crazy. You know, there's so many excuses why not to trap. And I'm telling you, my evaluation, whatever that big word is, that's why people aren't trapping, because there's so few left that really love and enjoy the sport.
Well, thing about trapping, it's a freedom that what we got to enjoy during the fur days is
No, slow expand your price.
But anyway, 1988, that was the year that I don't even remember if I said a trap or not. It was a very discouraging time after 87. When fur went down, and it was probably about 1990 when we started getting cows. Trapping's always been good to me. I got to meet these guys, a lot of these guys here through the trapping industry. It's about the guys you get to be around. I really started learning about trapping when I could meet guys like me. The boys you're looking at right here, and a lot of them think that there's a lot of trappers better than we are. Probably some sitting right there.
I don't know, 10 years ago, I got a staph infection in my knee and I was in the hospital. I had no staph. They didn't know staph. I had to get tested for a lot of different things, including Lyme disease and all the sexually transmitted diseases, everything. And no crabs. But when I told the doctor when they were testing me for Lyme, he said, "Have you ever had a tick on you?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Have you ever had it engorged on you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How many?" I said, "I don't know, 15, 20. And he looked at me like that, and I told him what I did with coyotes. And I told him that people think a freezer will kill a tick. And I'm here to tell you, I take coyotes out of the freezer that have been in there for 2 months to put them up that I caught in October or November, and then I'll have a tick on me in January. And he looks at me and he says, "Well, you might want to think about stopping trapping." And I thought, can we go back to the sexually transmitted part of this deal? But I said, I mean, I can't even fathom that, but yeah, I mean, that's right. Ticks, they terrify the heck out of me, but anyhow, there's just a little bit of color. Steve?
Well, ticks is Alabama's state animal, and our skeeters are our state bird. I've had spotted fever. It ain't nothing to play with. It took over a year before I quit having fevers and joints burning up and everything. Still have joint issues. Mass right. A damn tick is a killer. And the mosquito ain't far behind it. It'll make you sick too. But the only regrets, I think, the only time I ever thought about why am I trapping is when my boy of mine taught me into going into the bait and lure business. I still ain't forgive him for that one. All the freezers we had to buy, we ground up over a ton of beaver meat this year. Barrels of that mess laying everywhere. Why did I let him talk me into that? But I got it. But really and truly, I never gave trapping a second thought about quitting it. Like I told y'all a while ago, I was very weird when it came to that thing. And trapping's been good to me. I paid my house off 2 years early when the few years ago when the markets picked up for about 6 weeks. And, it's always came in there just right for me. And, but like I say, in the South, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, it's a booming business. It really is. And if you can tolerate the mosquitoes, the ticks, the cottonmouths, the alligators, the rattlers, the copperheads, and 145-degree weather every day, 8 months out of the year, it's your game. But it's been good to me, really. I enjoy it. I love it. I know a lot of trappers. I met one trapper talking about the critters. He set him a 330 on a beaver dam. He reached over there to get him, sticks, stake it up on the side. When he reached over there, one popped him right on top of the hand, cottonmouth. So he had to leave. He said, I never saw it coiled up there. 2 years later, I'm not lying, this is what the man told me. He was staking a conifer on a beaver dam, reached over, and he said, by the time I thought to look, it was too late. Same freaking hand, right on top of him. A little bitty cottonmouth, he put his hand on it. Bit him again. So, but we killed over 150 cottonmouths in 3 weeks off one job. My boy counted it. That's how infested with them critters we are down there. Oh yeah, they don't even know what the heck. You heard of hibernation? That's a myth down there. Them suckers come out in January.
Well, most of you heard the story about Pete and Ron Leggett trapping together. So it started on a bet. He didn't trap, I didn't either. It started when he was 17. He trapped over a lot of country, a lot of states, 33 years in Texas, and it was a great life together. He died in 2004. I was holding him and held my mom, held my father-in-law, put them there to take their last breath. So for 10 more years after my dad left, I kept a long line. We were running 100-mile line, and some of Mark there been on the line many a time, or twice, but run a 100-mile line, and I kept running that line, and I ran it for 10 years. And I wound up, I was in the shed there, I was skinning with my nephews and my step-grandson, always coming to skin. The cats got down, they quit coming to the shop. Well, Betty, my wife, she's not much to be around where we're skinning. She brushed fur, but she never drugged one of the pelts in her carcass in the shop or anything. So I was out there skinning by myself one day, and I said, you know what, I'm done. So 2014, I quit running a long line. So now I'm into helping other people get involved. I sold the Leggett's Wildlife Service. I didn't sell the lure business. I sold the wildlife service part to the Vice President of Maryland Fur Trappers and Brian Elder. And Brian's an excellent trapper, but I wanted to show him the Potomac River. Most people know us as canine trappers, but Dad and I trapped the Potomac River as much as 45 days a year from 1978 until the day he died. So I wanted to promise myself to teach, what'd you say? Well, we'll be catching on the Potomac back once. We were catching beaver, we was catching raccoons, we was catching muskrat, we was catching mink, we was catching otter, and every now and then we catch a fox, and we particularly like to mess with that when it was out on an island or something, be a few fox out there. The season was out, but we'd release them and catch them. Yeah.
Every year they catch fox, so Phil Brown, Mark Zager, Matt Jones comes in, and we got this many people follow us out on the line, and set after set after set, and we just did what we always do. Oh, they must not have ran last night.
That's embarrassing, you know.
But as far as people, when I was a kid, I always wanted to go west and trap coyotes, and we didn't have those in Ohio. And then when I fantasized about trapping, it was those articles I read from the guys trapping in the Dakotas, the Milligans and those guys. And I don't know if it's Gerald Weiland or Gerald. I never know how to pronounce the name of that guy. I loved his books. I love that open country, and that's what I always wanted to do. But This bonehead called me about 20 years ago and said, "Hey man, Mark, we got to make a video together. I'll come up or you come down here." And I said, "I can't afford the bail money, man. You kidding me?" So we never did it, but that'd have been a riot. But right, exactly. But Steve.
Well, like I said earlier, the man that taught me how to catch fox was Mr. Paul Burrows out of Alabama. He's long been gone. I never did get to trap with him, but I sat on the porch a lot, and he fed me so much knowledge that he is one of the biggest mentors in my life. Another person, in 1979, I got to trap with my granddaddy before he died. You can't top that. When the otter markets went through the roof, my daddy went with me almost every day. We'd hit the catfish lakes. He would walk them lakes while I was setting conibears, and he'd find every crossover. He made me set every one of them. I don't even care if it was just a possum crop over there. I just said it. But anyway, I was telling Mr. Leggett I lost Daddy 1 year ago today. And, you know, it hurts him to talk about it. But Daddy he wasn't really a big trapper, but he loved going. And Daddy, he loved a dollar. He grew up poor. And every time I'd catch an otter, he'd figure out that money we was making that day. I got so tickled. And, but who else would I like to ride along with? Well, I took a lot of guys with me. But to tell you the truth, every one of you, I have no problem. Every one of you is a brother. We all in this together. And like they say, we're a dying breed. And every one of you's got a story to tell and knowledge that we may not know. Like one guy I used to work with in coal mine, he said, "You can learn something from the laziest man in the world. He's going to know where the best place to sit is." So, excuse me. But everybody, I just enjoy trappers, being around them, and I don't know what else to say. Now there is some legends out there I'd be honored with. These guys here, no doubt. But hey, like I said, every one of us is in this game together.
I got a story I'll tell on Steve. It's been 15 or 20 years ago. The Grunwald truck was coming down to just about to the Kentucky state line in Illinois. It's when the auto market was just starting to pick up again. Steve called me and said, "Is a Grunwald truck coming to your country?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want to come up there and meet the truck at your place." So that all happens. He comes up in an old van. He opened the door on that damn van, and what he did, the otter hides of every color you ever seen. They got nice little black otter and tan. They just started falling. I thought, "Steve, how many have you got?" "Oh no." It was you remember that?
Yeah. When the market got hot, I lived with otters. I stayed in the woods with them. We had commercial catfish pond. I was working 11 to 7 at night in a freaking coal mine, and still, and I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my horn, but I still managed to kill over 700 otters in 8 winters. And it started out a little slower, $70 otters, it's pretty good. But when they got to $140, $50 averages, I just went ballistic. I don't know. I don't even know what I killed. Me and my boy, he didn't skin them. I glanded out everything this year. We sold right at 100 this year, 97 I thought. But if I was young again, I could do it.
I don't know if I have to interject anything after Steve, what he said. I like what he said. I taught at Fur Taker College for 17 years, and the students were teaching me some things. So, they asked me to teach out there, but there's all of you. There's better trappers sitting here than we are. You're just not exposed. Dad and I paid a lot of money to get our name out there. You read about us in every day magazine you pick up, right? So people get to know you and they start calling you legend. I tell everybody the legend died. And my hero, my person to look up to, was my father.
We got like 25 minutes here, so what else we got from the audience? Questions? Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you guys didn't hear that, he's saying every one of you needs to bring a kid, all of us, and he's challenging us to do it. It's well said. Questions? Did somebody have their hand up?
I'd like to say something on them kids, if you don't mind, but that 10-year-old I was telling y'all about, I was teaching his daddy on predator control, and I turned all my bigger work over to him. This kid is so grand. He is so respectful. He never got on my nerves riding with me every day for a year almost. But I told his daddy one day, we catching coyotes, predator control and high fences, done a few bigger work, and I said, now I'm gonna teach you how to fur trap. He said, what's the difference? And I said, you fixing to see. We went up to the barn and I loaded back into my truck down 11, 1.5, and no number more out number 2s. And we sell a product. It's called Pearls, and it's not like your fingernail. We have some that's cherry flavor and apple flavor. I give him a bottle. I kept put a bottle in my pocket, a little 4-ounce bottle. Pulled up commercial catfish legs. Comes out and I run that earth anchor down in the ground real quick, poke a hole in the side of the bank. This was last winter. Put a couple of them pearls in it, get back in the truck fast as we can go. It was 125 lakes, and we still didn't get them all set. In 2 weeks, 600 coon, nutria, and muskrats. And that was this year. And we was skidding in that shed 7, 8 o'clock at night. Sometime we got in, and that little 10-year-old boy said, Mr. Steve, you know, that fur trapping's fun, but my gosh, it's work. I said, yes, sir, there's a difference, ain't it? He said, you ain't kidding.
And that's just it, right? That's the one thing no one can teach you. You either have that or you don't. And drive. That drive and focus is what you can't teach. You either have it or you don't. Questions from the audience? Yes, sir. Right. So it's semantics, right? It's and really a program of control versus just coming in and fixing a situation in a reactive way. I think the guys that go to Texas and down south to do beaver work and those types of things after deer seasons are closed, that's kind of a program, you know, that's, to me, it's kind of fur related versus coming in and trapping a mole or a squirrel. What were you going to say, Ron?
Yeah, I want to address that a little bit because Dad and I started out doing that nuisance work in '94, went into it big time. It became very, very lucrative. But our focus was that homeowner had a problem. What are you going to do with it? Well, state regulation says we must euthanize and not haul your problem off someone else. We never told them we was going to take it to a cute little place and turn it out. Because until we educate the public, you're going to continue to have problems. And that's what Dad and I did focus on. We made sure, and I do it every day. The guy bought my business, Brian, he says, I'm going to haul it over to the farm and turn it loose, which is a pit in the back of my field. Right? He gets a lot more work that way, but we're not educating. Please do your part and educate the public. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen ADC going from something that we did as fur trappers, helping people out, to turn it into full-fledged, very successful, lucrative businesses. We know people with 10 employees and doing millions of dollars worth of work. And that's not necessarily coyote or beaver work, that's the moles and the squirrels and the bats and that type of thing. But it truly is a skilled trade. And Ron talked about it earlier, no one knows how to do anything anymore. And I'm guilty of some of that. My dad always changed our hot water heater when it broke or changed the oil in his truck. I don't do that. And no one knows how to control wildlife like we can. And I mean, Jim, your business is, I'm sure, rode that wave of nuisance work becoming really the future in the industry, correct?
Yeah, it was actually, it was kind of a welcome transition going from a lot of times making very little on fur to actually getting paid to do something. And you know what I really enjoy as much as anything is the appreciation you get from a lot of the people who you do the animal control for. They'll have woodchucks chewing up their garden or whatever, and I always love when the guy says, we've tried everything, and we can't catch that woodchuck. And then I'll put my trap down at a positive set with a double door trap over the hole. I said, but you haven't tried this, have you? And then you have the woodchuck in about 2 hours. And I remember one where there was a squirrel. A guy had built a scaffolding up against the building, and he had been going up and down, for 2 weeks, until his wife finally said, call somebody. We gotta catch this thing, because it's living in the house. So I climbed up the scaffolding. It was great. I didn't have to bring a ladder, and I get there and I look, and I'm eyeball to eyeball with a squirrel. And I set the trap, and you go down the road, and you get a call about an hour later. Yeah, you got him. And that part, you're their hero when they've got something that's doing damage.
We, the whole nuisance thing, you know, when I started doing nuisance work in '88 or so, I got my license, and I was just getting phone calls from people, like the fire department or police department gave out my numbers, and people would call me, and I went over. One time there was a skunk down in a window well, and I just put a board down and climbed out. You know, that kind of, people don't know how to do anything. And they're like, how much so? You know, nothing. It was almost, I couldn't reconcile in my mind charging somebody for something that came so easy to me. And that, flipping that switch in your mind is why there's a whole industry now. So it was like stealing. We have to talk about conibear triggers. Neil said to me beforehand, so we're gonna have a trapping talk for a second. What do you want to talk about? Go ahead. How's that for a segue?
Thank you for talking about something like traffic. Everybody has to talk numbers, so I'm going to do it. I'm having to do with 15,000 dealers with partners. You figure out how many ton that is, and you look at me and say, that's water. But this color trap right here. And most people are not going to buy this speed. The guy I rode down with was laughing. Oh, well, I bought a trap. What? I bought a trap from a guy that was this color. And I ran out of traps, so I set it like this. This one I caught the fish here I got to use this trap. I caught 3 otter and 2 people. I said, oh, that's either coincidence or this damn colored trap attracted them. You know, over the years, as much trapping that I've done, there are not that many secrets. And I actually think this is. And they'll probably outlaw it to color the trap. And half of you, 3/4 of you, will never try it. But I'm telling you, that colored trap right there will catch you otter. And when you first, I can see the looks already. Tells you. What I'm telling you, if you don't. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, because it took me years, that trigger right there. That trigger, I've done the side, like they have to do in New York, so you don't, I've done the L, I've done the circle. That trigger right there covers that trap more than anything. If you want to catch otter or beavers, I'm going to say it's a fact, because I think it is. That position right there. Why? When you walk through the woods, the one thing you worry about is your nose hitting something. That centers them. I've seen otters that they would just poof right there. Not big numbers, but from the Maine it is 96 otters last spring. Accidentally on purpose, and I should not say that. And they'll probably outlaw this color trap. But if there is such a thing as a so-called secret in traffic, I think that's one of them.
Why do you think that color is good? What are you trying to? What?
It's pretty simple to answer your question.
Go ahead.
An otter, for example, sees a shiny. It's an automatic reaction to find it. What surprised me and still does, it doesn't scare me. What somebody here is going to want to say, why the whole trap? I still debate that in my own mind with the color. So I went to just doing the trigger. I see that one right here. So we're using the right? We used to do that on the trigger. The centering to get into a trap together. Right? I forget what the damn question was. But anyway, no I did. But anyway, I'm telling you, it took me years to come to that conclusion with the trigger. And like I said, very few people are going to try this. But if you want to get all this.
Is that a 4-way trigger?
You see, this is where Neil Ocean's stupid. So, I'm serious.
No, you're way past that
The
point.
best shot, the best 3 years of my life was 3rd grade. When you say 4-way trigger, this thing, that kind of this thing, it's a coding thing. And it's a dupe one. They're smaller than the others. My wife loves the fact that dupe traps stay set. This thing will stay set. Going stage 7. I trapped with a phenom. It was a trapper. The best trapper I've ever met in my life. I trapped with him. He was good. He could see things nobody else could. Rah, 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 rah. He had the opposite theory. He wanted that trap to spring like that. Bang! This one, I think it solves what he didn't like about my trap, was that turkey. The way it is, because it covers the trap and centers the animal. An otter will be like, like this. Ooh, yeah. You know, everybody thinks these otters go through these traps. They're fat, they're like a bullet. No, most of them work their way through it. Or they hand the trigger over to the side. I watched an otter get caught once. Forgive me, I'm not trying to steal all the time. But anyway.
We're past that point.
Paul Grimshaw and I were traveling over the Adirondacks in New York. And I checked this trap by every house in Maine. You can't set the trap by the damn house if you're good there. I checked the trap, go downstream, and Paul starts yelling. He says, there's an otter in the trap, there's an otter in the trap. I'm saying to myself, somebody else must be trapping it. So I go back. This otter was doing something you would not think of. About that much right. Went down, and when he came up at his book, I call them first shots. And I've seen otters that are caught, that are bought. You can see the line. Why would it only stay there for a second? Because I don't bruise again. But anyway, no, I'm going to get to you. No, I am. I'm thinking about this ahead of time. Now listen, shut up, listen. When the thing got down here, I never saw the end because Paul hit it over the head. But after I started catching them and binding them, that male organ is an obstruction. It would stop right there. How many people have seen that trap right there? You all have, if you think about it. If you haven't, you look now, maybe. And 2 reasons. That's an obstruction, and they lose the leverage. That's why you use a really heavy trap, a rugged trap, I should say. Right? You don't have to tell me if that's a 4-way trap. All I do is trap.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
You good
That's
with
all
that?
I wanted to say something that I thought was intelligent.
The debate is out. Any other questions from the crowd before we shut this thing down? Go. Sorry. Yes. The question is educating new trappers and recruitment, and how do you get them to want to trap numbers and trap all season versus just trapping that one pesky coyote, right? And it's going to go back to this whole theme. Fur prices would do a lot to encourage people to do that. But I will tell you, you walk around the show, and whether the attendance is up or down, most people walking around buying stuff here aren't trying to catch 150 coyotes. They're trying to catch 7. People that come to my school aren't they don't even want to catch 150 coyotes. They don't want to catch 7. So there is a new demographic of people that, unlike us, that only would trap it a long time ago for fur prices, that got into it for that, and some of us stuck with it. But there is a whole new crew of trappers that, and COVID certainly helped with that, that are doing exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
You just answered your question on trapping a lot versus today. It's regional. Our season starts in October, ends in the middle of February. Turkey season kicks in, ends at the start of May. That is what is going on with us. Trapping is, we don't get these fur markets back. It's going to be a regional thing. You're going to see northern trappers, some states, start losing a lot of numbers. While in the South, we can't train them. I've done turned 2 people, my boy and my friend, over part of my company. My boy now subcontracts trapping out. I mean, that's what we're dealing with versus what you're dealing with. But it ain't fur, it's them freaking deer and turkey.
Go ahead. We have 2 minutes.
Big thing is that, my question is, go up north, we got probably a 20-page book, go down south, it says don't be caught. So, how do you get, things like that?
The conservation departments in most of the South will get you work. They don't want to see you, they don't want to know about you, they just want you to kill something that'll eat a deer, a bass, a duck, or a turkey. That's all. They don't cure. They're very lenient. I know great guys in Fish and Game Department. Now there's some a-holes. There's the young ones that wants to make a name for themselves, but most of them go with our blessings. They know they got a problem.
We gotta kill this thing, right? So listen, there's going to be a demo right after this, and we got to get out of their way. I know a lot of people are going to want up and talk to these legends, but please let them get out of the way. And they're going to, I don't know, I know Jim's got a booth there, Neil's here, you're here with a booth. You have a booth, you're just walking around. You're just walking around, right? But you guys, if you didn't get a chance to ask a question today, and you have something you want to talk to any of them about, I encourage you to do it. And thanks for participating. Hopefully you got some enjoyment out of this, but we got to get out of the next guy's way. So thanks a lot for coming, everybody.
All right, guys, I guess that's the end of Coffee Talk right there. I just want to give you all a quick reminder. This is not the official announcement for this, but Taman Hoover and I are having our trapping event on September 20th, and we done got most of the people set up for doing our demos and things like that. It's going to be at 92 Perrytown Road, Scottsville, Kentucky. It's an annual thing, and had a great turnout there last year. So we're hoping for another great turnout this year. So far we have Mike Deceivers from Western Kentucky coming doing a beaver trapping demo. We got Leon Smith coming doing a demo, been trapping 84 years. We have Stephen Russell out of Tennessee, and we have Robert Cruz. We still got to get a couple people to fill a couple more spots. There will be an official announcement once we get flyers printed out, and I'll post it on social media. But in the meantime, I'll throw a few pictures in there of our event last year, just give you all kind of an idea of what's going on. And there will also be some forging going on at the same time, a forging event, where they'll be out making knives. It's at a knife shop. So you'll be able to get trapping supplies, skinning knives, anything you want there, and catch some great demos. So hope to see y'all there. Go ahead and mark your calendar, September 20th. Appreciate each and every one of y'all coming to the channel. Catch y'all down the line.